And then findings all with the test CD, okay? LB test CD, VS test CD, EG test CD, PC test CD. So these all are the findings. These all are topic variables from the each and every class. When it comes to qualifiers, okay, if you can see the interventions, okay, decode, press, occur, dose units, okay. I mean, no worries, that will be there in the SDTM IJ. I am going to show again to the end of the class. You can read from there, okay. So the events, it's a PTCD, okay, like in the serious and then real action taken, outcome, toxic grades and all this. When it comes to the finding, test, ORRES means original results units, NRAND, BLFL, these are the finding related qualifier variable. Okay, so when it comes to the timing, it will be most of the cases will be fixed visit num and then epoch DTC, like it might be ST DTC, EN DTC, also the DTC. Okay, those are, so these all are for the across all three classifications. Okay, so is that clear? Have any question on this slide?
Sir, AP versus CH means?
Epoch, that is one of the variable. I'll explain what is epoch. Okay? So if you want to know that epoch, first you need to understand the trial elements, what is element, all this. Okay, but we have not moved over there. Just now you can remember this is one of the variable. Okay, epoch. So when it comes to the demographics, okay, we have seen yesterday, like in the interventions, events, findings, okay, what are the key information. So for that, what is the variable and then what is the role of that variable, we have seen. So when it comes to the demographics, okay, as you all know, the demographics will capture like subject level data. So that the first key information is that subject number. The subject number is nothing but subject ID. Okay, subject ID is the topic variable in demographics. Remember, what is the topic variable in demographics? Subject ID. Okay, so and then when did the subject start and end date of that particular study, treatments, all this, there will be 4 variables like RFSTDTC, RFENDTC, RFICDTC, RFPNDTC. Also there are 2 more variables, RFXSTDTC, RFXCNDTC. These all are the subject treatment related, reference related, start and end reference dates. Okay, so then some characteristics, okay, as you know, this okay, these are the record qualifiers. When it comes to the characteristics like birth, DTC, age, sex, race, ethnicity, these are some characteristics, demographic variables. Okay, so and what the study. So these are also record qualifiers. So what is ARM, what is actual ARM, that we will discuss in detail when we move to the demographic domain. Okay. So these are the synonym qualifier. Why? Because ARM CD, actual ARM CD is both are similar. That's why it's the name qualifying the same name. Okay, so then some other special purpose domain, we have this comments, subject elements, and then subject visits, and then subject disease milestones. Okay, there the comments, what kind of data is going to capture? It's a free text. Okay, like is there any particular domain related comments also captured, and then overall comments also will capture in the in the site, that we are those comments related data, everything we are going to map into the comments domain. So the subject domain, which is nothing but this element, okay, it is depend on the element. Element is nothing but it's a building block of clinical trial. Okay, so if you want to define any clinical trial, okay, it's a screening, treatment, and follow. Okay, so screening is a one element, treatment is a one element, okay, and then follow-up is a one element. Okay, so when it comes to the subject elements, okay, this is the subject elements, how each and every subject, how many elements were there. Okay, so that we will discuss in detail. Okay, this actual order of the elements followed to the subject with the start and end dates. Okay, so this is the subject elements. Again, this is the special purpose domain. Subject visits, okay, in the study how many visits are there, so for each and every subject how many visits were participated, so that will be mapped into the subject visit SV. And then visits comes from the TV, trial visit. The trial visits from we will derive based on the protocol. The trial visits is nothing but as per protocol how many visits were planned in the study, that is comes under TV. that is a protocol level data. When it comes to the SV subject visits, okay, this will have each and every subject, how many visits were there. So that we will get. So the subject disease milestone, this is a very rare we can create the timing of the disease milestone for each subject, okay. Some there are any disease related milestone, okay. Subject level equivalent or trial design milestone things, okay. So but very rarely we can create, so it's not comes from the each and every study. So as per SDTM-IG 3.3, these all are the domains for there, okay. These are the special purpose domain, the comments, demographic, subject element, subject disease milestone, subject visits. The study references divide, identifier and non. Okay, they forgot about these two. We are not going to very commonly use this. And then intervention, it's a procedure agent. So the PR, concomitant medication, CME, exposure, EX. Okay, and then the exposure as collected, EC, mail data, MLP, procedures, PR, substance use, SU. Events, adverse events, clinical events, disposition, protocol deviation, healthcare and contest, medical history. Likewise, if you can see in the finding domains, there is a huge list, okay? Drug accountability, data details, ECG, lab, inclusion, exclusion criteria, immunogenicity specimen assessment, vital signs, microbiology specimens, microbiology susceptibility, microbiology findings, okay? And then PK, PD, morphology, physical examination. There are n number of finding related domains. If you can see, these all are the finding domain related, okay. And then these are two are the finding about events, finding about, and then find again with the skin response. This is the last. We'll have the 7 domains. Trial designs, okay. As I said, this is based on the protocol. Trial arms, trial elements, trial visits, trial disease assessment, trial disease milestone, trial inclusion exclusion criteria, trial summary. So we are going to discuss in detail about this, okay. So what is what, I mean, what is the each and every domain, what kind of variable will be part of that you should everyone know. So then only when we are working on the SDTM ACRF annotation, specification writing, domain programming, you can easily understand, okay. So this is a just pictorial sorry.
What is the PK concentrations and PK parameters?
So these are the PK related, okay. When it comes to the PK, for example, bioavailability studies, okay, the drug bioavailability in the human body, those are the PK/PD study we can say. So their PK/PD, okay, plasma concentration, like it's plasma, you know, right?
Yes.
Separated from the blood, okay, and then pharmacokinetic parameters. These will comes under those kind of bioavailability studies. Again, it's one of the finding domain, okay.
Domain means?
Domain means, okay, it's a kind of, okay, what we can say, one SAS data set. Based on the data points, we are going to create the domain, okay. Very initial side I explained, right, yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Specify the data set which contains the specific data.
Sir,
Yeah, Chapman.
sir, in some domains it's having star mark. Why it is that?
I didn't get your question. Hello?
Like cardiovascular system findings.
Sir, in some domains star mark is there.
Okay. Okay, so okay, you are talking about
So
this
star mark is there.
yeah, asterisk symbol. Okay, got it. Yeah, those are the domains is added based on the SDTM-IG version 3.3. It's okay. So this is the based on the 3.3 version SDTM-IG version. Wherever it is the star mark, that is newly added into the 3.3 SDTM-IG version. Before 3.2, these domains were not present. Okay, so whenever it's a in implementation guide, SDTM-IG is updated, you can expect few changes, like there are new domains were added, and then new variables were added in the existing domains. There are some variables might be removed, that roles might be changed. These are the changes you will get, okay, each and every domain, each and every SDTM-IG. So this is the star mark symbols these are the domains which is newly added into the SDTM-IG 3.3 version, okay.
Sir, this RELREC and the supplementary comes under which one?
The RELREC and supplementary comes from the supplement, what you can say, relationship records and then supplementary qualifier. Those two will be their class, okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So this I am going to show in the SDTMIG. You need to remember. Okay. So I think yesterday I showed, but anyway, I'm going to share one more time today. So everyone should remember each and every domain, and then this domain falls under which classification. Okay. Now, so far what we discussed, the variable classification based on the role. Now based on the core also we have a classification. Okay. So based on the role 5 types, again based on the core, 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 okay, designations, okay, we have 3 more types. It is a required, expected and permissible. Okay, so what is required, what is expected, what is permissible, we will discuss in detail. So the required variables, which is nothing but each and every domain, what all are the required variables, we have to create that variables. Okay, so for example in the demographics, let's assume that we'll have a 30 or 40 variables in the SDTMIG. Out of that, okay, there are some 12 to 13 variables. We'll have a required variables, let's assume. So it means with respect to your study, if you created the demographic domain in that study, you have to keep that 12 variables or 13 variables, whatever the key variable, required variables, and then it should not contain missing values. Okay. For example, okay, basic of the identification of the records necessary to make the records meaningful. So must always be included, cannot be null for the any records. Okay. So you should remember that based on the code 3 types, required, expected, permissible. Required means that variable has to created, keep it in the data set, and it should not contain some missing values. Okay, this variable should not supposed to missing. The variable should contain the value. That is the requirement. Okay. When it comes to the expected variables also we supposed to keep it for sure, and then sometimes it might allow missing values based on the data availability. But the permissible variables are, it depends. Okay, this we can keep it or we cannot, we can remove from the domain. But how we are going to decide that? Okay, for example, if there are any specific informations, it might capture in the database, it might capture in the CRF, then only we will keep it. If the data is not captured in the raw data, then we don't keep these variables. So for example, this is the time point variables, TPTs. Okay, so each and every study will not capture a time point. Okay, so then in that case, no need to keep the time point related variables. Those are the permissible variables. You can remove that variables. Or else, if you keep that also, it can be missing. That's fine. Okay. So these are the 3 different core variables. Okay. Required, expected, and permissible. Required variable should be keep it and then should not contain some missing values. Expected variable you also keep it and then it contains a missing value sometimes. And then permissible, it's completely dependent on the trial. If the data points are captured and it is required for the analysis, you can keep it. Otherwise, you can drop. And then it contains a missing value also. Is that clear for everyone?
Yes, sir. So during specification, they will give these core designations, sir.
Obviously, in the specification will be there in the many places. You will find this. That's not an issue. Okay.
Yes.
That will be there everywhere. In SDTMIG also it will be there. I will show you after this call. Okay.
Okay. Sir.
Yeah. Now we'll see one example, like in the last time what we see the variable core role, likewise the same. Let's say this is the adverse event data set. Okay, if you can see here, remember based on the role, what all are the topic variables? Remember, all topic variables should be required variables by default. All topic variables would be by default a required variable, because the same variable will fall on the different two based on the role, based on the core. Okay, based on the role we have 5 types, based on the core 3 types. Okay, so for example, if you can see, these all are identifiers: study ID, domain, use subject ID, AE sequence. It will identifiers. When it comes to the core, it is a required variables. Okay, so these all are identifiers based on the role. These all are required variables based on the core. Okay. Next, this is a topic variable. As I said, the topic variable by default, it's a required variable.
Required variable.
Required variable.
Yeah. So the next is the timing variable. So the timing variables would be expected variables. Okay, it means it can contain the missing values, but we definitely keep these variables required and expected. Then this is the record qualifier. This is a permissible variable. Okay, it might capture, it might not capture. We can keep it or we can remove. It depends on the trial specific. Okay, so the above all are the based on the role classification, below all are the based on the core classifications. Okay.
So this record qualifier is a permissible variable that you said. So when we will
I mean, you cannot understand like that. Okay, remember, this is an example. All record qualifiers will not be permissible variables.
no, sir, not like that.
Not like
So that-
that's we have only one relation. You can blindly remember that all topic variables are required. Only that's it. The remaining you cannot say the required. Okay.
Okay.
But most of the identifiers are also required, but not always. Again, that you should remember.
Fine.
Okay. So the variable roles, okay, in the SDTM role. Sorry. Are you able to see my screen still?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 1 second. I think it's got fluctuation. SDTM model rules, for example, drop the permissible variables. Okay. So remember, whenever the permissible variables are there, that might required for your analysis, you can keep it. Otherwise, it's not a reality to keep it. Okay. And then they use the supplementary qualifiers to capture the non-standard data. So as I said, when we are going to create a supplementary qualifier, if the data is captured in the database, that data is required for your analysis, then that is not right fit into your parental domain, then we go for the supplementary. Okay. So adhere to control terminology, series sponsor defined external. Okay. What is control terminology? I will explain, but for now you just remember that the control terminology word, that's it. Okay. So and then what is don'ts? Do not add a sponsor defined variables. Okay. If there are in SDTM we need to follow the standards. We cannot keep the any variables whatever you want. So you cannot keep it. Okay. So as per the SDTM, what all are the variables you will have? You only keep those variables. You cannot add extra variables in those domains. So do not rename or modify the existing variables. Obviously, as I said, the naming convention would be mandatory. So what are the variable name that you should keep within the same name only. You cannot rename it anything. So do not impute date what you are collected. Okay. So remember, in SDTM level, if the dates are captured, that might be the partial date, that might be the missing date. We cannot impute any dates. Actually, in the clinical trials, dates are imputed. Why? Because if we perform the missing dates, our results will not accurate. That's why in the SAP statistical analysis class, SCAP statistical analysis plan. Okay, that comes on the ADAM related work. When we move to the ADAM stuff, that I'm going to explain to you, but just remember now. Okay, so there will mention that the imputation rules methods. Okay, but you should remember missing dates or the partial dates we cannot impute it. Okay, so again, that is also when we discuss the ISO 860 format, date formats and all these things, that I'm going to explain that. Okay. And then do not create a custom domains if existing domain will fit into the need. Okay. So if there are any information is required for analysis that is right fit into the existing domain, you don't create a custom domain. But when we are going to create a custom domain, if the information is captured that is not right fit into your any domain, then we go for the custom domains. Okay. So the custom domains also will be there. I might take one of the class for the what is custom domains, how we are going to create it, how we are going to create a naming convention for the custom domains, how we are going to create a variable naming convention for the custom domains. I'll explain. Okay. Yeah, so this is just a typical picture from your SDTM IG only. So there, if you go and then you check each and every SDTM domain, you might check the tabular form of each and every. For example, if you can see, this is the vital signs VS. Okay, so there you will get the variable names. Okay, study ID, domain, new subject ID, VS sequence, VS group ID, VS ref ID, VS test ID, VS test. There are a number of variables. I'll show you. So the variable label, okay, this variable label, what is this label of this variable? For example, study identifier for the study ID. Domain is the domain abbreviation. Subjected is the unique subject identifiers, okay. So these are the variable labels. For the, we have the control terminology, okay. So if the control terminology is nothing but it's a code list, if it's a control terminology code list is there, what is the code list name, you can find it here, okay. So what we have discussed so far, the role classification, okay. This variable, which role it is, okay, here you can find study ID falls under identifier, domain identifier. If you can see, VS tested is the topic variable, VS test is the synonym qualifier. So this is the role classification. And then this is the CDISC nodes is nothing but this will explain what is this variable, what kind of data we are going to map it here. This will explain in the CDISC nodes. If you can see at the end, core, what is the core classification? This variable falls under required variable or variable or expected variables, okay. So what all are the things which we have discussed so far, you can each and every domain you can find in the this tabular form, okay. So I will show in the SDTM IG as well, okay. So if you can see, remember in SDTM, the variable name, variable letter, it should be a less than or equal to 8 characters. This is the thumb rule. If you go any SDTM domain, the variable length, it should not be more than 8 characters. Variable length means the variable length you can keep it for the values. But the variable letters, okay, 8 letter, it should not increase the 8 characters. Okay, if you can see, these variables all less than or equal to 8 characters. You cannot find any variable, it's more than 8 characters in the SDTM IG. So that is the thumb rule. The next, it is a label. Label is again for the less than or equal to 40 characters. Okay, your SDTM variable label should not greater than 40 characters. It might be less than or equal to 40 characters. So this is the CDISC or NCA code list code, okay. If there are any variable code, we have the code list present, that how we are going to utilize, and then what is code list, where we can check that code list, I'll explain. But for now, just you remember the, if the code list present or not, you can check it. This is the description of what the variable means, how it is related to the another variable, rules for when or how to it should be populated, or how the content should be formatted. As I said, the particular variable, it will explain that what kind of data we are going to map, okay, when we are going to populate, what is the relation with other variables, that particular variable, that all will explain in the CDISC nodes, okay. So yeah. So that's it for, okay, if you go and check in the Google, so this is the www.cdisc organization. So if you click this link, it will open the CDISC website. This can be access anyone, okay, it is a open source. So okay, if you can see, this is the CDISC website. Here what is new to the CDISC standards, and then education purpose research, and then it's, as I said, it's a non-profit global organization, anyone can part of this, okay. So for this, if you can see the standards, okay, there will be SDTM, C-, there are a lot of standards, okay. So what's going on in the industry, okay, what are the, so sometime then you can go and visit this website, and then it's must worthy to know the things, okay. So yeah, so that's it for these slides. So first of all, you go and read with the fundamentals of SDTM in the first, I think second chapter. There you can check the SDTM domain classification, okay. Okay, this is variable, I guess, okay. Yeah, if you can see, this is the page number 11, you will have the variable classification, what we have discussed, what kind of variables is it, okay. And then 5 types, again qualifier equals 5 types, okay. Then the later you will have the core variables, okay. So where is that core, based on the core, somewhere, yeah. So the core is, it's a pretty much simple, okay. So if you can see, this is the SDTM IG standard domains, each and every classification, what all are the domains you will have, you should remember all this. Okay, so after this, I mean, you can read the complete SDTM IG, that is really important, but it is not that much easy to understand this. Why? Because that this terminology things are, it is not easy to understand. You should read minimum 3-4 times each and everything, then only can something you can correlate. Okay, so but what are the very very important thing we must know, that I'm going to cover all the aspects, no worries about that, but it's good to have that. If you can read the entire document, that would be really really helpful for you people. Okay, so then yeah, so for example, if you go and start with the demographics, okay, so here what we discussed so far, this is the diagram. What is the demographics? Classification for the demographics domain. Okay, so if you can see, there are numeric, is there any control terminology, what is the role of that variable, and then cdisk nodes, and what is the core of that variable. Okay, so you have to read each and every domain, this one, but no worries, I am going to cover all the domains. After that you need to read it. Okay, so for now what you need to do, that you can thorough with your SDTM classification of domains, how many domains are there, and you thorough with the domain variable classification, and then some example for the each and every classifications. Okay, so that's it for today. You have, I mean, we have some time, the code list topic. Okay, so just remember, for that particular variable we'll have a code list. Okay, what is the code list, how we are going to utilize that, how we are going to check that code list, where we can find, and then what is the control terminology, how we are going to check that, and then how we are going to implement that, we will discuss in detail. For now you can just remember the code list word. Okay, okay, you should understand the concept. Okay, now you will feel like that. I mean, whenever I learn in the like 13-14 years back, I feel the same, no worries. Okay, but it is easy. I will explain how to remember all those things. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, you start reading of the SDTM IG. So one by one chapter slowly, you can understand that some things, and then you can correlate, and then you can come up with the question. If something is you are not clear with that, you can come up with the question, we can discuss. Okay. Also,
So do we get all these questions in the interviews?
it depends. I mean, so the interview is nothing but whatever you are going to do the day-to-day activities, that only they will ask. Okay, it's not an exam, it's not any particular viva, they can ask from this book. If you know these standards, then only you can do the real-time work. Okay? So got it?
The practice section, whatever.
NDTC, RF access to this RFI, XE NDTC, okay, RFIC DTC, RFP NDTC, DTH DTC, death flag, site ID, investigator number, DTC, age units, X-rays, ethnicity, arm CD, actual arm CD, and DT, okay, and then country, DMDTC, and DMDY. So these all are the variables, okay. At least you will aware of this, okay. When you are practicing things, and then when you are writing, and then when you are working on this, by default invariably you will remember. And remember that this variable naming convention, only the special purpose variable are different. When it comes to the finding, there are some 30-40 domains in the finding domain. So the all finding domain variable convention would be similar. For example, test CD will be there. When it comes to the LB test CD. When it comes to the EG test CD. Okay, if test is there, LB test, EG test, VS test. Okay, DTC, date variable, LB DTC, VS DTC, EG DTC. So, by default you can remember when you are working and when you are studying something, okay. But when it comes to the finding, it will be similar all variable. When it comes to the intervention, it will be similar all variable. When it comes to the find events, it will be similar all variable. The only special purpose domain variable will have the different each unique from the other variables. Okay.
Okay, sir. Got it. Thank you.
I mean, that's not a big deal, okay. So, when you are working and you are reading, when you are practicing, by default you will remember.
Okay. So now
Don't-
the use of these in the SAS programming. Sir.